Israel's crimes against global Sumud Flotilla Humanitarians exposed. In a shocking escalation of violence and lawlessness, Israel has once again trampled international law and basic human decency. Between the evening of October 1st and the morning of October 3rd, the Israeli Navy illegally intercepted the global Sumud Flotilla in international waters, vessels carrying humanitarian aid for the besieged population of Gaza. On board were 462 peaceful activists from 45 countries, many wearing insignia of recognized international organizations. These citizens, committed solely to a humanitarian mission, were forcibly abducted, their ships seized unlawfully, and brought to Israel against their will. From the moment of interception, the activists were held incommunicado, with all communication systems jammed. Many were subjected to degrading treatment and high-pressure water cannons, a stark violation of human dignity and international law. This is not an isolated incident. It is part of a pattern of illegal and violent acts by Israel that flagrantly disregard international maritime, humanitarian, and human rights law. A catalog of crimes. Illegal interception at sea. Israel violated Articles 1988 and 301 of UNCLOS. Civilian vessels on the high seas have the right to peaceful passage. Israel's interception had no legal justification under Article 110. Abduction and arbitrary arrest. Article 9 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights prohibits arbitrary detention. None of the activists were combatants or a threat. They were peaceful humanitarians. Forced transfer to Israel. Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention prohibits forcibly transferring civilians from occupied territories, a rule fully applicable to arrests at sea. Use of violence and degrading treatment. Common Article 3 and Article 5 of the Geneva Conventions forbid torture and cruel treatment. Yet activists were sprayed with water cannons while trying to carry out a humanitarian mission. Defamation and stigmatization. Israel labeled activists as terrorists, violating their right to dignity under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Unlawful legal processing. Activists were treated as illegal immigrants, denied legal counsel, and coerced into signing documents. Article 14 of the ICCPR guarantees the right to a fair trial, which was systematically denied. Drone attacks on civilians. Israel deployed drones against humanitarian vessels, constituting aggression, illegal use of force, and a war crime under Article 8 of the Rome Statute. Seizure of civilian vessels. Attacking vessels on the high seas violates the sovereignty of the flag states and constitutes a crime under international law. Blockade enforcement and starvation policy. The flotilla carried essential aid for Gaza, which Israel has illegally blockaded for 17 years. San Remo Manual and UN law explicitly prohibit blockades intended to starve civilian populations. The UN Commission of Inquiry concluded in August 2025 that Israel's actions in Gaza amount to genocide. The legal verdict is clear. The global Sumud Flotilla operated entirely in international waters. Its participants never intended to enter Israeli territory. Israel has no jurisdiction over the 12-mile waters off Gaza. Arbitrary detention, violent seizure, and denial of humanitarian relief are all blatant violations of international law. Geneva Conventions, the San Remo Manual, UNCLOS, and customary international law demand the safe passage of humanitarian aid. Israel has ignored every principle. The blockade has created conditions in Gaza so dire that survival itself has become a struggle. Yet Israel continues to enforce it, systematically denying Palestinians food, medical supplies, and essential humanitarian aid. The global Sumud Flotilla was not just intercepted, it was violently crushed, and in doing so, Israel has exposed the world to a cold reality. Humanitarian missions are no longer safe, and the blockade on Gaza is an instrument of sustained genocide. The international community must act, swiftly and decisively. The activists must be released. The flotilla must be returned. And Israel must be held accountable for crimes that violate the most basic principles of human decency and international law. No more silence. No more complicity. Gaza cannot wait.